Namaste. Welcome to the 6th edition of the Global Festival of Oneness organized by Indica Moksha. My name is Anuradha and I'm the host of this session. Let us start with a prayer. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. We are very pleased to have with us Swamini Brahmaprajnananda Saraswati PhD, who is going to talk on the subject the greatness of Adi Shankara's Prakarana Grantha. Before we get on to the talk, I'd like to introduce the speaker. Swamini ji has dedicated her life to sharing the timeless teaching of Advaita Vedanta and Dharma. She conducts Vedic Vedanta courses, podcasts, retreats for groups in Mumbai and for people across the world online. Her teachings seamlessly flow from areas of self-growth to self-discovery. A disciple of Pujya Swami Dayananda Saraswati, she has studied Vedanta and Sanskrit in a full-time residential 3-year course and was a part-time student of Swami Brahmavidananda. Swamini is a former psychologist, and in her last leadership position as the country head of an international organization, she impacted the lives of nearly 15,000 street children. More details about her can be found on her website, arshavidyaananda.in. She's recently completed her PhD, and we will soon see that in the form of a book. Welcome, Swamini ji.
Thank you. Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namavi Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. It's a delight and honor to be talking about the greatness of Adi Shankaracharya's Prakarana Granthas. Today is day 2 of the 2-day session. Shankaracharya walked the length and breadth of this sacred land around 3 times, and as he wrote Bhashyas, Stotrams, held debates, did Prana Pratishtha of many devas in many places, and blessed everyone, he also wrote Prakarana Granthas, some of which were dialogues with his students, such that everyone could benefit. So in yesterday's session, we understood what, why, and how of a Prakarana Grantha. We also saw some highlights of Shankaracharya's works. Shastra Siddhanta Pratipadaka Granthaha, the text that illumines the teaching of the Shastra, is a Prakarana Grantha. So Prakarana Granthas are topical or thematic texts that are structured in a systematic and progressive way, very much in line with the learner's natural method of questioning. Most of the Prakarana Granthas are complete in and of themselves, and hence one can start with any of them which is intended for the beginner. Yesterday we saw some simple shlokas of Tattvabodha geared for a beginner to some verses of Atmabodha highlighting very beautiful, elegant metaphors. We also saw some verses of Viveka Chudamani and its complete framework. And we also saw some unique features. So today we will build on that and look at Adi Shankaracharya's work, Upadesha Sahasri, Vakya Vritti, maybe a few smaller prakaranas depending on the time available. So we start with Upadesha Sahasri. 1,000 teachings which have outlasted 1,000 years. So the expression Sahasri, 1,000, is of course not to be taken literally, but it has been used in the sense of many verses. Bahavarte Sahasram. Upadesha has several meanings. The most popular way the word is used is in the context of mantra upadesha, where the student is given a mantra for japa. Now here, Upadesha Sahasri, Upadesha is referring to Vedanta Upadesha, which is consistent teaching for a length of time involving study and inquiry by the student. So Vedantic Upadesha in the form of Upadesha Sahasri, very, very beautiful, profound composition by Adi Shankaracharya, is divided into two parts. Padya, which is the verse form, and Gadya, which is in the prose form. There are a total of 19 chapters, also called Prakaranas, in the verse section, Padya Bhaga, and 3 chapters in the Gadya Bhaga, the prose section. So each chapter, known as Prakarana, deals with one particular topic. So of these 19 Prakaranas, most of them are quite small, except the 18th chapter, which is called Tattvamasi Prakarana, and it analyzes the Mahavakya with 233 verses. So the way the text unfolds has detailed dialogues between the teacher and the student. And Shankara offers very sophisticated arguments against Purva Pakshas or opposing viewpoints. He definitely presents a lot of nuance and depth of the Upanishadic Mahavakyas. So the first chapter begins Chaitanyam Sarvagam Sarvam Sarvabhuta Guhashayam Yat Sarva Vishayatitam Tasmai Sarva Vide Namaha. I do namaha to that all-knowing one, which is pure consciousness, all-pervading, all sarvam, which is all, sarva bhuta guhashayam residing in the hearts of all beings, and beyond all objects of knowledge. So this is how Upadesha Sahasri begins. And so we also do namaha to Shankaracharya, who gave us this beautiful work. So chapter 1 is divided into, or can be divided into 6 major topics. So the first couple of verses are the Mangala Shloka and some sort of introduction. Then verses 3 to 5 establish that self-knowledge is the only means for moksha. 6 to 7 explain how karma by itself cannot give you freedom. 8 to 11 verses present the views of those who consider that it is necessary to combine karma with knowledge in the pursuit of moksha. So a lot of people say, little bit of mantra, little bit of kriya, little bit of sadhana and jnanam, this samuchaya vada, which Shankara vehemently opposed. He presents those views. And then, of course, 12 to 24, he refutes all of them, highlighting the role that karma plays. It's valid, it's useful for antakarna shuddhi and antakarna naischalyam, for the purification of the mind and steadiness of the mind. But karma being limited cannot by any way give you the limitless. How much ever mantra sadhana one may do, but it is important. And then finally, 25 and 26 verses is the Upasamhara, the conclusion, which is exhorting seekers to take to jnana. And also it introduces the term Upanishad. Then chapter 2 is titled Pratishedha Prakaranam. It is about negation. So only what is it that cannot be negated when you are saying neti neti, na iti na iti? So only the negator cannot be negated. It's like saying, I don't have a tongue. Okay. So obviously to speak, I need a tongue. But to say I don't have a tongue, which means that I cannot obliterate my own existence. So with all the neti neti, which is really what he is borrowing from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. He is pointing out that the one who negates, or rather the one who sees that name and form do not have their own independent existence. They are mithya. And but who is the one that remains even after all the negation is over? So aham, aham, aham. So pure consciousness. And the one who does not need another pramana, a means of knowledge to reveal oneself. So the one who remains after all the negation is over is indeed you, consciousness. And so it's a tiny chapter with only 4 verses. And then is a very interesting chapter. And I'm going straight away to the last chapter, which is chapter 19. It is called Atma Mana Samvada Prakaranam. So long before people spoke about voices in our head, okay, and then it has been structured and formalized into certain psychological frameworks, which are very popular these days. More than 1,000 years ago, at least, Shankara came up with this wonderful dialogue between Atma and Manaha. Obviously, there cannot be such a dialogue because the Manas, the mind, is pervaded by the Atma. Okay, so the mind has no existence without the Atma, but still, it's a very entertaining dialogue. So in this last chapter 19, verses 1 to 11, speak of this Atma Rupa Chintanam, this Samvada. Um, अहं ममेति त्वमनर्थमीहसे परार्थमिच्छन्ति तवान्य ईहितं न तेऽर्थबोधो न हि मेऽस्ति चार्थिता ततश्च युक्तः शम एव ते मनः. So addressing the mind, okay, oh my mind, you indulge in anartha, okay? You seem to enjoy all these useless ideas like aham and mama. So I and mine. And then all these efforts you are making, okay, for whom are they? Because it obviously seems that these efforts are for someone other than yourself, but by yourself, okay? Mind, you have no consciousness of anything. On the other hand, I, as consciousness, have no desire for anything. So, tatascha yuktaha, shama evate manaha. So, if I was being rude, I would say, just shut up. Okay. If the mind is told to just shut up. Or if I was being polite, like Shankara, then what he's saying, it is most appropriate. It is yuktaha, shama eva. Be quiet. Okay. And then he goes on to say, well, I am moha tava me na asti. I am not deluded by your efforts. I as consciousness. Why? Because, I am the truth. And really speaking, prabuddha tattva astva asita hi avikriyaha. Really speaking, I am free of all changes. I am free from all bandha and all these useless efforts that you are making to claim significance and to claim what is mine and wanting to control it and all of that, just don't bother. Okay, then further, verses 12 to 18 speak of satya adhishtana. So name asti kaschina na saha asmi, there is no one who belongs to me as consciousness. Kasyachid yataha advaya aham nahi chasti kalpitam. Nor is there anyone to whom I belong to. Why? Because all that is here is me, one without a second. So only in forms there can be nanatvam, there can be manyness. But in one, there is no one to relate to. Okay? So from the standpoint of the human being, Atma is quite lonely. But that's all rubbish. Why? Because to connect with someone, it requires two at least. But if there is only one, then what are we talking about? Al akalpitaha cha asmi pura prasiddhitaha vikalpanaya dvayameva kalpitam. So the consciousness is, having that dialogue and telling the mind, you know what? You are just imagining, you are doing kalpana of this world, which honestly is all name and form. It just collapses when you inquire into its reality. And it is adhyasa. So this is adhyasa on me. And it's like asking the clay, what do you feel about this world of pots that has been created? And clay will say and turn around and say, what? What are you talking about? I have always been clay. I don't know what you're talking about. So I, as Satyam, exist prior to all this adhyasa. In fact, the pot does not touch me as clay. It is only Dvayam that is superimposed. Then further in the 19th chapter, which is a very unique chapter, and that's why I'm highlighting it. So 19 to 24, obviously if Satyam is spoken of, then the Jagat Mithyatvam has to be spoken of. And finally, 24 to 28, he speaks of the phalam of Atmanyanam. And then he concludes saying that this overall Trishna Jwara Nasha Prakaranam, it is also called that, because this dialogue between the Atma and the mind puts an end, Nasha, to this threefold fever that we have because of avidya, kama, and karma, and because of which I am always restless, I'm ill at ease, I'm not okay with myself, I'm not okay with the world. And so the only way out is Atma Jnanam, for which is medicine, which is Aushadam for this fever of samsara. And so by this, he's also reminding us that we may use the antakarana exactly as it is intended, which is an inner instrument true to its name. And then, so beautifully, with so much humility and reverence, he concludes saying that, Vimathya Vedod Adhitaha Samudhritam Suraihi Mahabhestu Yatha Mahatmabhihi. So I bow down to all the teachers, the Mahatmas, who realized this ultimate reality that was gathered from the Mahabhihi, from this great ocean of the Vedas, of this knowledge of the Vedas. Just like Tatha, uh, you know, the Devas churned the great ocean and gathered Amritam. So very beautiful is the verse section. Then is the Gadya section, the prose section. And very interestingly, it has three chapters, which kind of correspond with the three stages of the primary, what we might refer to as primary sadhana in Vedanta. So Shravanam is the main sadhana. Mananam and Nididhyasana are supportive. So the Prathama Bhaga corresponds roughly to Shravanam. It is referred to as Shishya Pratibodha Vidhi Prakaranam. So it's almost like a manual for teachers of Vedanta, saying, well, how should you teach the disciple? And so he says, okay, now finally we shall explain how to teach the means for moksha for mumukshunam. Okay, so we are very clear about who the adhikari is, who has shraddha and who deeply desires moksha. And just in the second line, he says that the only means to moksha is jnanam. There is no other. So then he goes on to say that knowledge of Brahman is to be obtained by a worthy disciple. Part of the teacher's role is to uh, educate the students in and help in achieving the necessary qualities. Because perhaps only in the pages of the Upanishads we see Uttama Adhikaris. And then, of course, we are in Kali Yuga, not to forget. So, therefore, a lot of work is required to help, um, people grow into adhikaris. Then he goes on to say the teacher teaches the relevant shrutis that are concerned with aikyam of Jiva Ishvara, and continues to help the student by dropping the identification with the status that one has in society, the body, etc. And then through the help of Shruti and Smriti, the teacher helps the student to understand that the Atma is different from all name and form. So, jati, family, karma purifying ceremonies, and that indeed Atma is identical to Brahman. So, whoever is eager to know this should rise above the three Eshanas, Eshana Trayam, very these deep cravings that are there in majority of the people. So, Putra Eshana. So, my desire for a child. So aham push, putra pushtaha, aham pushtaha. My child is happy, I am happy. So very deep cravings, right? And with the Ashana, so the very deep desire for wealth, and Loka Ashana, the desire to go to different lokas, desire for fame, and so on. These are for many people binding desires, and so he says that the one who wants to really know has to grow out of them, needs to have some vairagya. Further, he goes on to say that the knowledge that I am free and that I have to do this, I am bound, they cannot coexist, they cannot have the same level of reality. Then, after sharing this, he goes on to chapter 2, which is a shorter one. And I mean, actually, no, it's not so short, but compared to the first one, it is. And it has wonderful dialogues between the teacher and the student. Very patiently, he talks to the student who asks, this mutual superimposition, is the body superimposed on the Atma or is the Atma superimposed on the self? And then the teacher says, does it matter, if it is made by one or the other? But so, and this is called Advaya Bodha Prakaranam. And finally, chapter 3, Parisankhyana Prakaranam. So I think it's a very clever word play on Prasankyana meditation. So there is a school of thought that believes that what is heard in Shravanam has to be meditated upon, only then the truth is realized. So, in the Sampradaya, we are against this kind of thinking, because then you are saying that meditation is a pramana by itself. It negates the pramanatvam, the status of Shruti being a means of knowledge. If you say that knowledge takes place in meditation. And so, Shravanam being the primary sadhana, Parisankyana Prakaranam is really talking about Nididhyasana. So there again, he quotes Shruti and Smriti. Avyatoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate. So he's quoting Bhagavad Gita. I am that unmanifest. I am not an object of thought. I am not subject to modification. And then, of course, he quotes the Upanishad also. Sa bahya abhyantaro hyajaha. I remain ever unborn. Internal, external are only standpoints. I am both the internal antaraha and bahya and also the external. So we see this Upadesha Sahasri is intended for a Vedanta student, perhaps at an intermediate or a little advanced level, because of the depth and the nuance of presentation. Then we can go to a very short one, which is Maya Panchakam. It's the most delightful set of 5 verses, which is talking about Maya Shakti. So, how come Nirguna Brahman appears as this diverse Jagat? Oh, well, thanks to Maya. And it is this Maya Shakti that manifests as avidya for the jiva. So, which is the cause of experience of this duality? And for us, duality is not a problem, okay? Whether one is wise or otherwise, we are all in plurality and duality. But thinking that duality is reality is where we experience conflict and sorrow. So, the refrain in this Maya Panchakam is Tvaghatita Ghatana Patiyasi Maya. So this Maya is amazing, okay? So why? Because what is impossible, aghatita, not possible, but it makes it possible, ghatana. And Maya has patutvam, is very clever, is so skillful in accomplishing the impossible. So that which is nirguna, she makes it appear as nanatvam as manyness, and as diverse from each other. And then we are all swimming in this world of duality, thinking that it is reality. निरूपनित्य निरशङ्केऽप्यखण्डे मयि चिति सर्वविकल्पनादिशून्ये घटयति जगदीश जीवभेदं त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया. So in that which is nirupam, nitya, niramshakaha, in that which is formless, eternal, partless, and sarva vikalpanadi shunye, which is free from all distinctions, Maya brings about the ghatayati, jagat, isha, jiva, bheda, the distinction between the world, Ishvara, and Jiva. And how come? Oh, because this is how Maya is, okay? So she makes the impossible possible. And what is so delightful about Maya Panchakam is that when you see the play of Maya Shakti, you're obviously not under her spell, and you can truly appreciate that life is indeed a joke. Okay, you can be very light-hearted and see that it's all play. It can be lila. Okay, then we go to Vakya Vritti, which is a little more intended for an advanced student perhaps, or let's say intermediate level. So Vakya Vritti is a text of 52 shlokas, again composed by Shankaracharya. There is a shorter version of 18 verses, Laghu Vakya Vritti, which incidentally I had covered in the last Global Festival of Oneness, which was quite a delight. So here in this Vakya Vritti, first of all, Vritti means a thought. And it also means a clear explanation of a mantra by a guru. So this text has an elaboration of two vakyas, Mahavakyas, Aham Brahmasmi and Tattvamasi. So in Vakya Vritti, the student approaches the Guru with a confession that, this Mahavakya is not really clear. Please explain it to me. And so Vakya Vritti focuses on just the Mahavakya. Of course, the Mahavakya is the shortest ever statement. Okay, it's such a tiny statement, Tattvamasi. But as we go through the verses, there is an angle of grammar in it. Okay, because the study of linguistics comes in, and also how we use language and how language is understood by us. So naturally, to understand the entire statement that you are, an inquiry is required into each of the words. So tat pada, tvam pada, asi. And so there are two verses that I want to quote, which is somewhere towards the end. मानांतर विरोधे तु मुख्यार्थस्य परिग्रहे मुख्यार्थेना विनाभूते प्रतीतेर्लक्षणोच्युते. So this is verse 47 and then later 48, that when we hear a statement, if the direct words do not make sense or throw up some sort of inconsistency, then you want to go with what is being pointed out, what is the implied meaning. So Lakshana Vakya. And after doing, there are threefold analysis of Lakshana Vakyas in the way in which sentences are understood. So for instance, if you say the the black dog is walking, okay. Now, black dog, I think, okay, is the name of a whiskey label. So whiskey label, whiskey cannot walk. But if I say black dog is walking, then what the other person understands is that here is a person who is drunk with whiskey. I have not said the person who drank black dog is walking. I don't need to say that. I just say black dog is walking, and then they'll say, oh, okay. So isharo mein, you understand with the use of minimal words. Um, so the person understands. So like that, in our everyday colloquial language, we drop the meaning of certain words, we add the meaning of certain words. So if I say, our Swami Dayananda ashram, it is on the Ganga. What? You have a floating ashram? No, no. It is on the banks of the Ganga. So you understood what I said, but you added in your mind on the banks. And so we are doing this all the time. So then what Shankara further says, that even in statements like Tattvamasi, that तत्त्वमस्यादिवाक्येषु लक्षणा भागलक्षणा सोऽयम् इत्यादिवाक्यस्थ पदयोरिव नापरा. So even in statements like Tattvamasi, Adi Vakyeshu, there are many other Vakyas, okay? Don't think only one Mahavakya is there. So what we do is we reject or we give up the meaning of one part of the word and we retain one, what is unchanging about that word. So like I went for my school reunion. This was after 25 years. Okay. And the theme was blue because our school uniform was blue in color. So I was the only one who did not go along with the code, the dress code. And then of course people are looking at each other, trying to recognize each other after 25 years. And so then somebody, sort of known to us, chatting amongst friends. So they said, that Mrinalini is this Swamini Brahmaprajnananda. So now, and the other person said, oh, okay. Obviously a person recognized. But how did the person recognize me? So what was given up was that thin girl, okay, in a blue uniform with pigtails. And here, this, whatever, they cannot quite relate to this person in orange robes, with who is a lot more plump and with shorter hair. So all that is given up, but what is retained is the entity. So Saha Ayam or Soyam Devadatta is the common traditional example that is given, that what is retained is Shuddha Chaitanyam. As one inquires into Tatpada, the inquiry into what does that pronoun Tat refer to, of course it is referring to Brahman Ishvara. So the Upadhi, that which is changing, that which is as though conditions, is given up or rather negated, and what is unchanging, which is Shuddha Chaitanyam, is then equated. So same thing applies to the Jiva as well. So because both, because of Samanadhi Karanyam, so some grammatical terms will come in because they are in the same case, endings. Therefore, um, it is an equation of oneness. It is not one of similarity. So Vakya Vritti is helpful for those with little grammar background, but it goes into great detail in that way. Then we can move to Aparoksha Anubhuti, which is means direct, immediate knowledge. So I spoke about this, I think a couple of days ago on Shankara Jayanti. It is on my YouTube channel. So I want to highlight a small section of it today. So Aparoksha Anubhuti has 144 verses. And it's a beautiful text which highlights that knowledge is direct, it is immediate. There is no in-between process that takes place. So some people think that, oh, I will listen and then I will meditate, or at one fine day under the Bodhi tree, knowledge will dawn. No, you are self-existence, you are Svata Prakasha, Svata Siddha, Aham, 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 and you don't lack the experience of Brahman. In fact, in every experience, all that is you shine. So in this, I want to highlight today a section on Nididhyasana, which are verses from 100 to 130. So, Nididhyasana, as some of us know, is the contemplation on the reality that you are to get rid of habitual patterns of thinking. Nididhyasana is not intended to give us any kind of new knowledge or any extraordinary experience. So Shankaracharya begins this section by saying, Purvoktasya labdhaye, whatever knowledge has been gained in Shravanam and which has been clarified in Mananam, the knowledge has been made free of vagueness or any kind of error or doubt. I will tell you 15 steps of Nididhyasana. So the moment we hear numbers, right, we are very attracted by it. 4 ways to do something, 15-step Nididhyasana. So sounds interesting. And he does a wonderful play on Ashtanga Yoga. So of course, Rishi Patanjali spoke about Ashtanga Yoga, which are both, steps as well as processes. They are, progressive as well as simultaneous that can be practiced. And so what Shankaracharya does is he adds 7 more and he makes it Panchadasha Anga Nididhyasana. So he uses the terms that are used in Yoga Shastra and he gives the meaning in the light of Vedanta. So of course in Yoga Shastra we know Yama is, Satyam, Ahimsa, Aparigraha, Brahmacharya, Asteya. So non-stealing, non-grabbing, speaking the truth, non-hurting, etc., etc. So what Shankaracharya says, what true yama is, sarvam brahmeti vijnanad indriya samgrama samyamaha. So the restraint of all the senses by means of that knowledge, sarvam brahma iti, that all this is Brahman. So is he putting down yoga? No, not at all. He recognizes that Ashtanga Yoga helps you prepare yourself, helps you have mastery. And he also says that don't get lost in sadhana. Okay, whatever sadhana you are doing is for the sake of sadhya. What is the goal? Never lose sight of the goal. Just like the eagle never loses sight of the prey. So it may be moving all over the sky, okay, but very swiftly swoops in on the prey, doesn't lose sight of it. So the sadhya, what is your goal? You may go all over the place and you may prepare yourself with different methods, but what is to be avoided is to see the senses, the sense organs as independent of Brahman, as if they have a separate reality by themselves. No way. So true yama is seeing that every sparsha, every touch, every rupa, every form, every shabda, every sound, every rasa, every taste, flavor, every gandha, smell, fragrance is none other than Brahman. Sarvam Brahma iti. May you see this again and again. Okay, so beautiful. Then he goes on to speak about maunam. Of course, this is not a part of the Ashtanga Yoga. He adds one word. And then he says, so of course, maunam you will understand as absence of sound or opposed to noise, so some sort of silence. Then he refers to Taitriya, and especially that yatova chonivartante aprapya manasa saha. So the wise need to be one with that maunam, whereby words with the mind, they try to reach Brahman, but they cannot. And then they return, they nivartante, uh, which is really to say that both the words and the mind cannot objectify what you really are, because what you are is self-evident. Then he talks about desha, kala, asana. That's also very interesting. He does a wonderful play on Siddhasana and Padmasana, Sukhasana. So of course in Yoga Shastra we know it to be, asana that is Sukham and Sthiram, so stable and comfortable. Of course initially you start with discomfort and then you learn to be comfortable with discomfort, and then eventually you are comfortable, right? So what he says is may you know, tad vijaniyat, what? That Sukhasanam is really, that Sukhe Naiva Brahma Chintanam. So that posture in which thoughts, ideas, or rather the understanding of Brahman flows ajasram, continuously. Sukhena, ajasram, unceasingly, and it flows spontaneously, sukhenaiva, and not other thoughts that destroy happiness, that do sukha nashana. Then he further talks about mula bandha deha samya, and then dharana. Okay, so dharana, we understand, is a continuous focus on an object, which could be a mantra or a flame or oneself. So he explains dharana in this way, which is reflected in Mandukya Karika also. Yatra yatra mano yati brahmana tatra darshanat. So wherever the mind goes, let it go. There alone is the vision of Brahman. And the steadiness of the mind, such that you see that no thought, no emotion, no memory, no experience is ever separate from the Brahman that you are. That is true dharana. So, very beautiful set of verses which allow us to dwell on the fullness that one is. So, it's really worth looking at aparoksha anubhuti, because this is a very unique feature of it. Then we enjoy this Dasha Shloki. So Dasha Shloki, as the name suggests, 10 shlokas, which is like Nirvana Shatkam. Nirvana Shatkam, of course, we will consider as a stotram, but there is a lot of teaching in it. So very similar. न भूमिर्न तोयं न तेजो न वायुः न खं नेन्द्रियं वा न तेषां समूहः अनेकान्तिकत्वात् सुषुप्त्येकसिद्धः तदेको वशिष्ठः शिवः केवलोऽहम्. So similar to Nirvana Shatkam, which does Twampada Vichara, which does an inquiry into who one is. And the strange way to do it is Neti Neti, which is mentioned in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So I am not Bhumi, I am not the earth, I am not water, I am not fire, I am not air, I am not space. And here we must understand that in English, when we use the word na, not, it means absence, generally. But in Sanskrit, this nakara has 6 meanings. And particularly in Dasha Shloki, it means other than, okay, vyatiriktaha. So when it is said, I am not the earth and this, that, the other, it doesn't mean that earth doesn't exist, this body doesn't exist. It exists, but it does not exist independently of the Atma. So I am other than that means I am aware of this body, mind, etc., which is made up of these 5 elements. And what I'm aware of, I cannot be it at all at any given time. So then he says, nor am I all the samuha, all the organs put together as a whole. But because anekantikatva, because of all this variability of the upadhis in the different states of experience, waking, dream, and this constant interaction of the senses with the sense organs and so on and so forth, that what am I truly? Tad ekaha avashishtaha, the one who remains after seeing all of this as name and form. Shivaha kevala aham. I am that auspiciousness. I am that non-dual one who remains always when all duality is negated. So like that, there are wonderful verses here. And then, and then it's really funny. Okay, the last verse, he concludes, okay, न चैकं तदन्यद्वितीयं कुतः स्यात् न न केवलत्वं न चाकेवलत्वं न शून्यं न चाशून्यमद्वैतकत्वात् कथं सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धं ब्रवीमि. So he concludes saying, it is not one, but then, how can there be a second that is different from it? So, it as in I am neither absolute nor non absolute, neither shunya or ashunya. And after describing in 10 shlokas, he then says, Katham bravimi, how can I describe that? Which is Sarva Vedanta Siddham, which is established by all of Vedanta. So again, he's pointing out to the fact that the words, after they do their job, like this pole vaulting, right? So this fellow who is running and doing this pole vault, after he uses that, without what is that thing, the pole, and he runs, he builds up momentum, and then he uses that pole to pivot to the other side. So the words do that kind of a job. They help up to a certain level, but because you are already self-revealing, self-illumined, luminous, and therefore you illumine everything else. So then the words have done their job, and all that is there is you. Then we can also look at Dhanyashtakam. So Dhanyashtakam, as the name suggests, has 8 verses which speak of the one who is truly dhanyaha, truly blessed. So tat jnanam prashamakaram yadindriyanam. What is jnanam? That is wisdom, which ensures that your indriyanam, your senses, are shantaha. They are at peace. They are not restless. It's not like you look at something you want it, you smell something you want it. You can let things be as they are because all the senses are resolved. That is true wisdom. Then he says, and of course, that also reflects in the 20 values of the Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter. Okay. So the Nigraha, Indriya Nigraha, uh, you know, Indriyartheshu Vairagyam. Then Tat Niyam, what is it? What is true knowledge? Tat Niyam, Yad Upanishadsu Nishchitartham. So only that can be called knowledge, that which is really, really to be known, which is the understanding of the Upanishads, which is self-knowledge. Te Dhanyaha, who is the one who is truly blessed? Te Dhanyaha, who move around, bhuvi, paramartha nishchiteha, who work towards clarity of this reality. So in the Bhagavad Gita also, imagine Bhagavan Krishna is saying, amongst thousands, only few come. Of the few who come to this knowledge, only few understand. And of course, earlier he also said, this is Ascharya Bhat Paschati. So it is all such a wonder. The Vakta is a wonder. The speaker is a wonder. The one who understands is a wonder all the way. So here, Shankaracharya saying that the one who's truly blessed is the one who has a commitment, who does not give up. Because it's very easy to give up because the nature of the knowledge is very subtle. And you bring the orientation that you have had towards your dharma artha kama pursuits. If you have given up over there, okay, then and if you are escaping into Vedanta, it will not work. But if you've been there, done that, and have been a fantastic achiever, a great karta, a great bhokta, then you are able to see the limitations of all of that. And then you will use all your time, effort, energy, um, and bhava to be the greatest devotee, which is a jnani, and work towards this clarity. And they indeed are dhanyaha. Sheshastu. Oh, what about the others? So he doesn't mince words, okay? He says, Sheshastu Brahma Nilaye Paribrahmanti. The others are moving around in this maze called the world with Brahma, not Brahma, okay? with confusion, okay? They're always confused and they are moving around, but they are not the ones who are really blessed. Then, our 580 verses of Vivek Chudamani, then these 1,000 teachings of Upadesha Sahasri. Then Shankaracharya shows his brilliance in also being able to compose just one shloka, Eka Shloki. And it reflects, it is reflected from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the Jyotir Brahmana. So, the important thing about Prakarana Granthas is that it reflects the Shastra. So maybe I won't chant, but I will just explain. So the Guru asks, what is the light for you? How do you see? The Shishya says, for me, in the day, the sun is the light. In the night, the lamp, the Deepaha. Okay, the Guru says, then what is the light that makes you see the sun and the lamps? The Shishya says, eyes, chakshuhu. Then the Guru asks, Nimilanadi Samaye, when the eyes blink, what is the light by which you close your eyes? By what do you see the quality of vision? Whether your eyes can see, your eyes cannot see. Oh, Shishya says, Dhihi, my intellect, my mind. Okay. What is the light that illumines your intellect or your mind? So then the Shishya says, Asmi Prabho, it is me. I illumine the intellect. And the Guru says that indeed, that Jyotihi, that is Param, you are indeed that ultimate light. And of course, Shishya says, yes, yes, I am that. So it's nice, when the Guru says Tattvamasi, you don't say Tattvamasi, yes, same to you. You say, yeah, that's right, Aham Brahmasmi. Okay. So, so really, what's very remarkable about these Prakarana Granthas, and we have seen a very few of them, there are just so many, is how they complement each other. Each of them can stand alone, complete in and of themselves, and at the same time, together, they form a treasure that addresses all aspects of Atma Vichara. So, referring to different sadhanas and to the sadhya. And it's important to note that, as is understood in a Western context, Advaita is not a philosophical speculation. It is a means of knowledge, and we've had the joy of receiving this from crystallized forms of living wisdom, our gurus. So some of the common themes that run through these Prakarana Granthas is one, of course, a lot of mention of sadhana, adhikari, the qualities of a student. Then Shabda as Pramana, as a means of knowledge. Again and again, Shankara emphasizes that moksha is possible only through jnanam. Jnanam is Upanishad Vakya, which is revealed by Ishvara. And so, just like you trust your eyes to see, your eyes, you have Shraddha in your eyes, you never doubt. You say, I saw with my own eyes, you will thump your chest. And because we may not say, I have Shraddha in my eyes, but I know that for the world of sight, eyes is my pramana. And so for me to understand who I truly am, Vedanta is a pramana. It is a means of knowledge. And so I expose myself to this Shastra, which reveals the reality of who I am. I am self-evident. Shastra need not reveal that. But Shastra reveals what I am, which is the limitless, which is Shuddha Chaitanya. Then Prakarana Granthas, of course, take the support of Shruti, Smriti, Yukti, a lot of logic. Um, we saw already in Dashashloki and in a lot of other sections, Neti is used, methodology of negation. Also Adhyaropa Apavada. Opposing views are refuted. Metaphors are used very skillfully. And of course, Prakarana Granthas, they remain as relevant today as when they were composed more than 1,000 years ago. They really dazzle us with their clarity and open our hearts to fullness. So most of us, are really in the waking state, are kind of sleepwalking through life, but true waking up is waking up to the fact that one was always free. And so, although this is a stotram, it is Adi Shankaracharya's composition. So I would like to close with Pratah Smaranam. Pratah Smarami Ridhi Samspuradaatmatattvam Satchit Sukham Paramaham Gatim Turiyam Yat Swapna Jagara Sushuptim Yat Swapna Jagara Sushuptimavaiti Nityam Tat Brahma Nishkalam Aham Nacha Bhuta Sangaha. Prataha could mean early morning, or it could mean when I wake up to my nature. So early morning, prataha, I remember the shining truth of the Atma in the heart, that which is ever present, that limitless awareness. Paramahamsa Gatim, which is the supreme goal of sannyasis, also known as the fourth, Turiyam, and that which is present in the dream, the waking, and the deep sleep state of experience, but is untouched by any of these three states of experience, that which is Nityam. Indeed, I am that Brahman, which is without any divisions, and the one who is not a collection of the Pancha Mahabhutas. Maybe we can do the second one also. Bhajami manasa vachasamagамyam Vacho vibhanti nikhila yadanugrahena Yanneti neti vachanair nigama avochuhu Stam deva devam ajam achyuttam ahuragryam. Early morning, I worship that which cannot be objectified by the mind and the speech, by whose grace all words shine, whom the Vedas describe or rather reveal by the words neti, neti, not this, not this, the one who is the foremost, the God of the gods, the unborn and the changeless. So with that, we have reveled and enjoyed some of the Prakarana Granthas of Bhagavad Pada Jagat Guru Adi Shankaracharya. May all be blessed to study this and to truly live the wisdom that he has blessed us with. Om Tat Sat.
Thank you, Swamini ji, for this dazzling lecture where we could understand the breadth of these beautiful texts and what they have to reveal to us. Thank you very much once again. Viewers, we have many such talks, and tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. India time, we have Swami Narasimhananda talking to us about reasoning in Adi Shankaracharya's Adhyasa Bhashya. So please do tune in and learn more about this knowledge. Thank you so much. Good night.